welcome and good afternoon. This is lesson 3 of our flipped scientific method unit on testable hypothesis. So before we get started, you need your notes handout that I passed out today at the end of class for homework, and you're going to fill in the blanks as we move along through the slideshow. Okay. What is a testable hypothesis? It's an educated prediction or possible answer to a question. It can be tested by an experiment, and it usually is stated in an if-then format. So let's revisit this second characteristic right here. Can be tested by an experiment. This is probably the most important. Let's say, for example, you make the prediction, I think dolphins communicate with each other using telepathic messages. This would not be a very testable hypothesis because it's pretty hard to design an experiment that could reliably test that. Another hypothesis that would not be very testable with an experiment might be something like, I think my stairs creak at night because there's a ghost in my house. That's also pretty hard for you to design a reliable scientific experiment about. It also usually is stated in an if-then format. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say if I study the night before my vocabulary quiz for 15 minutes, then my vocabulary quiz score will improve by a whole letter grade. That's an if and then format. So let's work on an example. So how will the amount of water given to a plant affect its growth? This is our investigation question. And we learned how to put together investigation questions yesterday. So if we look at the amount of water is the first variable and the second variable is its growth. So our hypothesis needs to talk about each of those. So let's look at a good hypothesis for this question. If a plant is given the recommended amount of water, then it will grow to be at least an average height. So you have both the variables there, recommended amount of water and average height. Okay, this hypothesis is a good hypothesis, a testable one, because it's very specific. We could look up the recommended amount of water for whatever plant we're using and its average height. So it would be very easy to see if it was supported or rejected by our experiment. Here is an example of a poorly written or bad hypothesis. If a plant is given twice as much water, then its growth will be affected. So they only tell us, they do talk about the two variables, the amount of water and the growth, but they only tell us twice as much, which isn't a very good measurement. We don't know what twice as much means, and we don't know how it will be affected, the growth. So this is a bad hypothesis because it's not specific enough. It doesn't tell you exactly how much water or if the plant's growth will increase or decrease, stay the same. The plant will die if it won't do anything. So we really don't have a clue here about what affected means. So this would be pretty hard to support or reject with your experiment. So that's pretty much it for today. It was a short lesson. So tomorrow you should come in and be prepared for your entrance slip and to make some of our own hypotheses. See you tomorrow.